Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Thought Leaders Lounge, an ongoing conversation with Family Compass. Today, I am so excited to welcome Family Compass volunteer extraordinaire, Claire Brady. Hi, Claire.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's so great for you to get to come out and be with us. We're excited to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of want to talk a little bit about, today's episode really is about volunteerism and the importance of it, and who better to hear that from than a Family Compass volunteer, someone who comes out and helps with so many different things. So wanted to see if you could just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, and specifically is giving back to the community something that you learned as a child? Or is that something that's just sort of evolved for you as you've grown?
Yeah, certainly. So I have lived a lot of different places. I've lived in California, Alaska, Utah, and I've always been pretty conscious of the community that I'm in because as I've moved from place to place and now currently living in Texas, every community has its own texture and its own culture and its own different needs. I think as a community member, you have a responsibility to be an active, contributing part of that community. I think that comes somewhat easily to me because I like people. I'm a social person, but I also attribute most of that to the way I was brought up. My family is very volunteer oriented. So most of that honestly goes to my parents and my brothers for encouraging me to grow in that direction.
Excellent. So Alaska.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met anyone that's lived in Alaska, to my knowledge. What was that like?
Alaska was kind of crazy. So it has less than 1 million people. It's 2.5 times the size of Texas. So it's extremely rural. It's a very unique culture because it prides itself in individual reliance, but the community supports itself more than any other community I've lived in.
Wow. People
are volunteering left and right because if you don't volunteer to help someone, the outcome could literally be death.
Yeah.
And in that way, it taught me a lot about the importance of individual action. You know, if you see someone on the side of the road not having the bystander effect and thinking someone else is going to take care of that situation, recognizing that someone might not be helping that person ever. And every time you choose not to help that person, you're kind of just letting it happen. You're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And in Alaska, you can't really ignore that dichotomy.
That's so interesting. This may sound stupid, I've just never thought about it that way. So that's incredible. Well, what an exciting experience for you to get to go up and be a part of that. So I bet it's
great.
Beautiful.
It's gorgeous. I was in Denali.
Okay.
It's a very small community, about 800 people. And it was fun because we had people coming from all over the world. A lot of people from Slovakia, which I was not expecting. Okay. Slovakians dress very differently than you would expect. I went up to Alaska expecting to see all these outdoorsy granola, Colorado types coming in for the summer. And I saw all of these very, 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 very light-skinned people walking around in Adidas tracksuits and chains. And I was just like, where are they coming from? Okay. And they would have at local clubs Slovakian house night. So we'd have all these tourists from like Florida and Texas coming up to Alaska expecting it to be this rugged dive bar full of Alaskan men and women. And they'd walk in and it would be like Slovakian techno
and they're like
music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was baffling for a lot of them.
Wow. I love that. I love that. So tell me a little bit, tell me some of your early experiences with volunteering.
Yeah, so the earliest memories I have of volunteering is at the food pantry with my mom. She still goes to this day and she fills me in on all the group dynamics that happen at the Santa Rosa, California food pantry. It was always about direct service. With my first boyfriend, we would actually go on food pantry dates a lot of the time, which is great because if you're trying to get to know someone, first off, what better screening tool do you have than being like,
hey, a nice person?
Yeah. Do you want to go volunteering with me? And then you have something free to do. You feel good afterwards. You can spend the whole time talking. So I had very positive early volunteer experiences. We also were or are a pretty religious family. And so I was given a lot of volunteer opportunities within our smaller community. And that was really positive because we'd help out a lot of the elderly. I think the elderly are oftentimes, forgotten and they can't do basic things like reach high boxes.
Right.
And so as a child, I've been 6'2" since I was in 7th or 8th grade.
You've reached for a lot of boxes.
I've reached for so many boxes. And being that young and recognizing, there was this old woman in our ward who couldn't get like her Christmas tree off of the top shelf of her garage.
Right.
And she was so amazed and grateful that a girl in 8th grade had the height and the strength to pull her Christmas tree down. It was strangely formative. She was very happy. Yeah.
I love it. And you never know where the help is needed, right? So
Exactly.
That's wonderful to get to do that. So a little birdie told me that you had previously been a part of the AmeriCorps Vista program.
Yes.
And for those out there who maybe are unfamiliar, can you share a little bit about what that program is and a little bit about your experience?
Of course. So VISTA is an acronym and it stands for Volunteers in Service to America. It's similar if you're familiar with the Peace Corps program. That's a 2-year international program where you go to a community in need and you do what's called building capacity. So you create a sustainable program that when you leave that community, it still perpetuates itself and you left a lasting, permanent, positive imprint. Right. AmeriCorps is still high impact, but a little bit less of a commitment. It's a year of service stateside. You are plugged into a nonprofit, and while at that nonprofit, your primary goal is to make capacity building changes so that when you leave that nonprofit, they can function more efficiently and hopefully have a higher volume intake despite you not being there once you leave.
Sure. I love that. So, I mean, I think what's so fantastic about that is it's not just a one and done. It's something that hopefully, like you just said, it's going to go on forever. So what was your experience like? Can you share a little bit about where I assume you were assigned to like an agency to do that. Can you share a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, I was plugged into Network of Community Ministries, which is a Richardson nonprofit. Yeah. They do food pantry, clothing, and additional services.
They do all the things, don't they?
They wear a lot of different hats. Yes. And my time there was really wonderful. I learned so much, frankly, professionally, not to make it, a selfish thing, but I grew a ton as a person because you're volunteering full time. You are not getting paid. You are getting a very small living stipend. Sure. And it's putting you in daily touch in your professional and your personal private life with what it means to be living on a budget that tight, how that impacts family dynamics, how that impacts your interactions with people. Yeah. And I grew a ton as a person and I really enjoyed myself. I had a lot of fun.
That's good. I love that. Plus, it's great. I mean, specifically, I know to get to have that experience at an agency that covers a lot of different areas. It's great to kind of get your feet into some things that kind of shows you a wide range of opportunity, I think, which is great.
Huge range of opportunity and a huge range of need. I mean, it was just shocking how much need can exist in a community that you don't see. I think that the anxiety most people have around social standing and perception cannot be understated. Right. And so you would see a lot of parents who were struggling, but maybe didn't want to admit that, which I think everyone can empathize with. No one wants to look belly up in public. No. And you just saw a lot of people coming in with a lot of really serious needs and working so closely with the network, the nonprofit, I would see what people's monthly budgets were like. And it was really intense to see how close to the edge a lot of people with children were living, a lot of people with medical issues were living. And because I was in an organization that gave me the tools, it was actually a really good, like a good motivator because I felt like I could do something. I would see something that was really intense or kind of disturbing, but then I had the ability to move forward with that information. And I think that's what's so important about volunteering is you could see a video, you could talk to someone, you could be disturbed about something in your society, and volunteering feels good because you're actually doing something about that bad emotion. And after you volunteer, you get this really nice a sense of self of just like, I am part of the solution, not part of the problem.
I was about to say the same thing.
Going back to that whole Alaskan thing, it's like, I did stop by the side of the road. I was that change, and you're helping your community, but you're also helping yourself. So I think it's really positive.
Well, it's walking the walk.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's the thing. It's like we can all sit here and say, oh, I saw this, and isn't that heartbreaking? Oh, I'm so sorry. And then that's it. Or we can say, you know what? It was all those things, and I'm going to go and do something about it. I'm going to go and try to do my part to help that, whatever that may be.
And there does seem to be that gap. I've noticed maybe it's just with people in the age range that I'm in, which is I'm 25, so maybe in their 20s. But people will consume all this really hard to watch, hard to understand media and articles. Right. And a lot of people don't seem to realize the way you get rid of that bad feeling is to donate, is to volunteer. Like if you feel bad after watching a video or reading an article, don't just let yourself sit in that. You have to pull the trigger and you have to do something about it. But once you do, the feeling largely dissipates. And there's this huge positive cascade. You're helping the community, but you're making new social relationships in the organization. Right. And it doesn't have to be major. I think a lot of the time people think that they're going to have this opportunity to metaphorically save a child from a burning building. And
I mean, ideally that would be wonderful, but
ideally,
probably not going to happen. Right?
Exactly. It's the opportunities that the average person, man or woman, gets are going to be, am I volunteering on my weekends? Am I donating that $10 or $15 to the cause that I support? You're not going to get, most of the time, that massive opportunity. It's the small ones that count, and the small ones, I think, that add up eventually.
Absolutely. So what brought you to Family Compass? How'd you land in our neck of the woods?
Sheer luck. One of the employees at Family Compass, I am very close with. And I just consider myself so lucky because she completely removes that hurdle that a lot of people struggle with in volunteering, which is getting plugged in, which is getting organized, which is finding the opportunities to volunteer. Kyla, who's
I was going to say, let's give her a shout out.
Kyla, we love you, Kyla.
That's nice. Yeah.
It comes to me when there is a volunteer opportunity, and it completely erases that whole middle ground of me having to find it. Right. So she just plugs me in continuously and makes it very easy for me to get involved, and it just streamlines the process.
Well, when I introduced you as Family Compass volunteer extraordinaire, I really wasn't kidding, because you have you just in a short time, you've come in, you've done a lot of, go back to all the things. You've come in and done so much for us. So what are some of the projects that you've enjoyed working with Family Compass on?
I really enjoyed, as crazy as it sounds, the most recent one we did together of clearing out the storage closet.
Oh my gosh, then that was something.
That was a whole thing. People are so generous in the community, and when you donate something, there is this whole behind the scenes process, right? It's, with, you have to account for it, you have to store it, you have to find the right person. And so to be able to make that process more efficient, I felt really good about, because having worked in nonprofit, I know how important that behind the scenes process is for helping the client. Right. And it's not a super glamorous thing to be doing, but I think oftentimes the least glamorous volunteer activities tend to be the most important on a foundational level. Yeah. So I enjoyed that.
Well, I don't know if you're a nerd like I am. I enjoy like the organizational part of it. To me, that's just the best feeling to know, we're putting all that together that's actually going to be useful to our program team that ultimately is going to serve our families directly. So it's just to help, kind of like you were saying, just help make that process a little bit smoother, make it look a little better, but just make it easier. I think.
Exactly. So, it's like, for lack of a better word, it's the guts of the organization.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We would like to extend a very special thank you to Dallas Capital Bank for sponsoring this episode of Thought Leaders Lounge. And now for a message from Dallas Capital Bank. Dallas Capital Bank was founded to provide Dallas entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals access to a higher level of banking service. Our clients experience true relationship banking from experienced local bankers dedicated to understanding your business and providing superior client service. From commercial and private banking to treasury management, mortgage warehouse, and commercial real estate, we are a trusted banking partner, offering the banking resources you need when you need them so your business can thrive. We are how Dallas does business. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Dallas Capital Bank is a proud banking partner of Family Compass, supporting their mission to build healthy families and a strong North Texas community by preventing child abuse and neglect.
So it sounds like, you've done a lot of different things. You've tried all, like I was saying, kind of all the things. What do you have specifically? What advice do you have for maybe some younger listeners out there who are wanting to give back to their community, but maybe don't know how, maybe are a little like, what is this? What am I going to be asked to do? What advice do you have for them?
Just make a date, just decide to do it. I remember when I was in middle school and high school, the same amount of effort that it takes to go get frozen yogurt, or in my case, go to the beach. Hey, let's just do this.
Right.
Just set the date, get a couple of your friends and send it out to the group chat. Hey, let's go volunteer at the food pantry on Saturday. Let's go to this event that Family Compass is hosting. It's fun. It feels good. It's a great thing to do with your friends. And it's a good time. I don't know how else to say it. If you get tired of malls, if you get tired of sitting around, it's a good thing to do with your time, and it's a good time.
And I guarantee you, I think I can say this for every organization, there is always something that needs to be done.
Yes.
There's always help that's needed, right? So
absolutely. And great. What's cool is if there's a problem maybe in your school, if there is a problem you've noticed in any of your other family social groups, Google makes it very easy to find a nonprofit that's connected to those issues.
Absolutely.
And if you start getting involved at a younger age, it sets you on a trajectory for being more like the person you want to grow into, right? And I think the best time to do that is now, especially if you're younger. It's all about setting that trajectory that you're going to follow for the rest of your life.
I think the lesson is just start.
Just start.
Just start.
Just set the date.
Just put one foot forward and start, right? That's great. Well, Claire, thank you so much for being here today. And honestly, just on a personal note, just thank you for everything that you do for Family Compass.
Happy to.
You've helped us so much in your time with us, and we look forward to a wonderful relationship with you as we move forward.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it as well.
Thank you so much. So as always, we want to leave everyone with an inspirational quote to take into the world with you. So today's quote is by the great Arthur Ashe. Volunteer, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of Thought Leaders Lounge. Be sure to stay tuned for the next episode coming out in a couple weeks, where we will discuss all things fundraising with Executive Director of the Storehouse of Collin County and community philanthropist Candace Winslow. And be sure to subscribe to Thought Leaders Lounge on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. For our listeners out there in the DFW area, we invite you to get involved by joining our volunteer website to be notified when opportunities arise. Visit us at timecounts.org/Family Compass to make an account, or visit us on social media if you have any questions. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all at Family Compass. See you next time.